Hi, it's Steph Evans here from Evans Creations, and today I'm just going to do a little tutorial on how to create a wavy curly haired look with negative space behind. So I'm actually just going to stitch each of the individual lines and curves of this hair. That'll give a slightly different perspective, slightly different look. I'm using 4 strands of thread here because then it gives you a nice bit of texture. It kind of stands up off the fabric a little bit more. And I'm actually just using backstitch along each of these lines. So you need to make sure that you are using small stitches whenever you're going around any kind of curvy sections or around any little bends. If you use small stitches, then it means that it keeps a nice curvy line. And it gives it a bit more fluidity. So I'm going to do this now, and then I'll show you the next step. Okay, so now I've completed each of those lines using the backstitch with the 4 strands of thread. What I'm going to do now is just use one individual strand of thread. So I'm just going to anchor it behind by wrapping that needle underneath each of those stitches a few times, and that will help us to anchor the thread. Okay. And now what I'm going to do is just add a few other little bits of detail and a little bit more texture by just using that individual strand. So we're going from 4 strands down to 1, and I'm just going to fill in some of the more blank sections. Use some of the finer details around the hairline as well. Okay, so using the same thing, doing the back stitch, and I just make sure that I use the end of my sewing needle to kind of make sure that those threads are going into the right position, so you can kind of zhuzh them to where you need them to be. Okay. So I'm just having a little play here to see how I want that hair to lie and what it'll look like. Okay. There we go. So I'm just going to do one loose stitch in here. And by loose, what I mean is it's one individual stitch, and I'm just making sure that I don't pull the thread too taut. So I'm just going to zhuzh that with my needle so that it kind of almost gives the natural way a hair would fall. It gives it a little bit more texture. It brings it up off the fabric. So there we go. Just zhuzh that a little bit. So the trick is to just make sure that you don't pull the thread too taut. You don't want it to be a straight stitch. So if you leave it slightly loose, there we go. So I'm just loosening that off again. Then the thread will naturally curl and curve around, and it gives a really lovely effect. So I'm just going to do that until I'm happy with the effect and happy with how it looks. Okay, so I have finished stitching the hair. I just like to give it a little zhuzh with the needle on some of those looser sections to make sure that it's lying the right way. I've done the facial features as well. I've just used one strand of thread to do that, just so that it gives you a bit more of a finished look. But yeah, I'm really happy with how that looks. It's very different to kind of the solid curly hair look, but it's just another option that you can use when creating your curly hair everybody embroidery portraits. So thanks for listening. Please get in touch if you've got any questions, or if there's any other videos you'd really like me to do to help you to achieve an embroidery finish that you're looking for.